My name is Adam Guyman, and I am watching a YouTube video that I just noticed. I am disabled myself, and I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I guess the title of the video is "The County Seat, Utah's Inland Port." Now, I am making this little video to basically inform people who may not understand this, but unfortunately, this inland port is nothing but a corporatization, and it is not really for the people. Right now on this program that I'm watching, I'm only about 8 minutes and 49 seconds into a 22 minutes and 37 second video. The thing is this port is not going to actually really help you or I, the regular Joe Blows that are on low fixed incomes, people who do live on the west side of Salt Lake. Now, from what I've gathered in this video, basically they're saying that it might not all be in one area, but unfortunately, I think that's a few corporate, what I would say and call corporate gag baggets that do not care about we the people and what and how this port will affect us. Pretty much this port, even if it is split up into a few different areas around the state of Utah, it is not going to actually help people. It's going to hurt a lot of people. It's drawing a lot more pollution from more and more trucks. It's destroying the wetlands that are right around the Great Salt Lake. Right now, the Great Salt Lake has not been very full. As a matter of fact, the state of Utah has done a lot of damage to the Great Salt Lake. They put a causeway across the Great Salt Lake. This causeway has culverts that go underneath it. The thing most people don't understand is already that environmental impact has been destroying and ruining the weather system in Salt Lake. Salt water does not flow the same way as fresh water does. The idea of the culverts didn't really help because the north end of the lake is almost dried out. There's not a lot of water, and the reason that the Great Salt Lake is able to provide the greatest snow on earth is because the water evaporates, moves to the east, and dumps on the mountains and on the east side of the Great Salt Lake. The problem is for years, the water in the Great Salt Lake has been diminishing, and there's not very much there. The same thing's going to happen with the air. There's already a lot of environmental impacts that are already happening in Salt Lake City and the other surrounding areas. The thing that I see is that if there is an inland port they're not going to hire people who live on the west side to work there. The pollution is going to affect people who live on the west side. The thing is the people that are a part of this and that are at the head of this inland port, they would never put this in their own neighborhood on the east side. They would never clear a space on the east side. If this is such an important port and it's such a big form of money, then why are they not building it in their own neighborhood? That's a question that you should ask yourself. It's going to affect a lot of people, especially people with disabilities. The videos I've been making are being made to bring awareness about disabilities and how disabilities affect us. A person should not be ashamed that they have a disability. They should not be put down because of it. But yet, at the same time, we should not be affected. There's people who live on the west side of I-15 and even farther west. This port is going to have a lot of semi-trucks, a lot of trains, and more planes bringing goods. There's already 3 ports already. Why can't the items at these 3 ports in Los Angeles and in I cannot remember the other name of the port, but it's near Oakland or in California, somewhere near the the central area of California on the coast, and then another port that's already up in the Washington area. The thing is the port, those things could be separated, and they're already just being shipped to other areas. They're already being flown from those areas to where they're going. Making one more stop in Salt Lake or even in Fillmore or wherever in Fillmore, Utah, or any other place in Utah, if it's not going to be completely in Salt Lake, it's still going to be going to another area. That means that you're still losing that central hub that you were planning on in the first place. I hope that anyone who watches this video understands that the pollution that is going to be brought into the valley is going to go up because the trains, the planes, and the semi-trucks delivering all of the items from these 3 ports on the west side of the country, bringing different goods and services to Utah, where then that's bringing all of those trucks to one area just for them to be separated. It would be better if we actually spent the money to put in a high-speed Mag-Lev system, magnetic levitation propulsion system trains that don't actually ride on rails, where you have a metal wheel touching a metal track. High-speed Mag-Lev trains they glide above a guideway. So if you have a guideway here, they only glide above, so they follow that guideway. The thing is with high-speed Mag-Lev, a person could get on a train in San Diego or San Francisco or any other area and go from point A to point B within minutes or even within at least an hour or so, depending on where you are leaving from and where you're going. the money that could be put into that system could provide 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365-day a year public transit and transportation, which anyone and everyone would be able to use that. If that type of service was put into place, that would actually be much better. It would actually provide passenger service. The trains could be designed so that, depending on what it is, if it's safe enough, could be equipped to be designed so that a person can ship something on the same train, meaning that if these trains ran every 10 or 15 minutes apart, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that would provide a lot of opportunities for items to be shipped around the country. That would mean that instead of waiting for the mail to come at 2 o'clock, if your item is on one of those trains earlier, passengers are getting from point A to point B. And maybe that product or service that you needed is riding right along with those people. But yet, we're not willing to provide good public transit for people, especially people with disabilities that don't have that opportunity to ride aboard a train when they need to go somewhere. There are so many more benefits, but yet there are some people who are willing and that are money hungry, that are willing to do anything they can to make an extra buck for themselves. I'm really disappointed in the state of Utah, and I'm talking about the so-called officials that are in power and have their authority. It's those people that make me sick, that make me really not like living in Utah. There are people who suffer every day, people on low fixed incomes. But yet at the same time, there's a lot of people that are not going to be employed. There are going to be a lot of people who will not really be able to get a job. People who live on the west side don't usually have very much. Some people are lucky to even have an ID for themselves, let alone a driver's license. We take such pride in any type of form of technology in the state of Utah because someone would rather dig and drill for oil versus putting in clean, renewable forms of energy and training people who would work in an oil field or in a gas field and train them how to work in a solar, wind, geothermal, hydrogen, you name it. There are more forms of clean, renewable forms of energy that we could be using every day. Most people don't realize that the Salt Lake Valley is in a bowl. A bowl. There's the Wasatch Mountains on the east side, and there's the Ochre Mountains on the west side. They come together at the north and south, but yet at the same time. The clouds, the air, everything is trapped. There's people with asthma and other lung conditions, people that have breathing conditions. I have an obstructive pulmonary lung disease. I have sleep apnea. Those are two things that affect people. There's people that are suffering every day because of this inland port. Even the idea is disgusting. People were doing something that they had every right to. That if you want to go back, every right, we all have had the right to protest. People are hiding behind the walls and doors of privacy. That is not what the state of Utah should be doing. The state of Utah, there's a thing called separation between church and state. There needs to be a separation between corporation and state. When people were at the inland port protest this last July, peacefully protesting, the Salt Lake City Police Department came in and shoved a crowd of people who were standing there, who were dancing, were chanting, were singing, were saying that we do not want the port. Instead, the police come in and they shove people over on top of people with disabilities. I will tell you right now, that is going to mean that I don't trust the police. That takes my trust away from the police. I don't trust the police. As a matter of fact, I would rather not call 911 for myself, even if I needed an ambulance, even if I needed someone to come help me, because I am more afraid that the cops are so trigger happy, they're so worried about their own life that they don't care about anyone around them. They're getting a paycheck. That's what I would have to say. 95% or more. 98, 99%, as a matter of fact, is what I'm going to say. The police do not care about us. Because when they shove people over, they shove people over on top of each other. Which, when that happened, people were piled on top of each other in front of the door. There is and was no way that people could get out of those doors. And this port does not need to be here. I will tell you that right now. It does not need to be here. And if I have to do anything about it, I will. And if that means leaving a cop laying on the side of the street and not giving that cop a voice when that cop needs a voice at the most critical time, I will not do that. Because they didn't care about the people there. They say that there was a danger, because there are so many people there. No. The cops are the ones that caused the danger. They caused the danger because shoving people over onto other people, that is a fire hazard right there. The cops did not ask for the leaders of whoever it was that organized the event They just came in and started puffing their old mighty chests up and saying, we have the authority. Well, I'm sorry. They're more worried about a port, and I don't know why there is not other people in this interview on the county seat, Utah's inland port. There's only 2 people that this person is interviewing. 2 people, and both people are in favor of the port. It's not a real debate. It's not a two-sided thing. No. People like Governor Herbert and some of these rich people, they really don't care. I will tell you one thing. There are people, and maybe if you're one of the people who understands, and maybe you have a disability, that's one thing. But if you're someone who's like, well, but we need to have something new here. What we need is something that will really benefit everyone. This port doesn't. This is my response video to this video that I'm watching right now. The second part of this is I failed to mention a few things about this inland port. One of the things that I failed to mention is for the fact that in the second part of their video, they mentioned how, like I think I mentioned earlier, about how the, if they were to move or have smaller areas around the state, it wouldn't mean that they would have, they would not have any kind of, have to build up more freeways than that. The problem is in the state of Utah, all these other areas around the state will end up getting pollution with this, because if you're going to split it up, there's already semi-trucks that are already carrying items. There are trains that are already bringing things around the country. They're just taking stuff from 3 major ports around on the west side of the country and just trying to bring them to one place or to multiple places. That's still not going to work. The point that I'm trying to make with this is for the fact that these very limited people are the ones that are going to be making the money. It's not there for the people. There was people who were hurt doing something that they had every right to do. Everything was happening in back rooms, away from the public, so that the public didn't have any kind of say. And that is not being very democratic. That is not doing the things, for example, some of these people really don't get it. For example, let's say you and I were sitting together and we're listening to the radio. And let's say you live in Salt Lake City, for example. And this is just an example, but let's say today we're listening and all of a sudden an advertisement comes on the radio, and the radio says there's a car show, classic car show in Salina, Utah. We could pick any place throughout Utah, but I'm using Salina as an example. Tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., this classic car show will be, there. Come down, bring your family, your friends, bring the family dog. It's open to the public. The car show's free. The food is free. Just come join. Just join the car show. Come on down. Well, guess what? For myself and a lot of other people, because I'm legally blind, I can't drive a vehicle. I don't have that option. So unfortunately, I would not have the ability to just hop in the car and drive down to Salina. But yet, let's say someone needed something. Well, if we had a high-speed Mag-Lev system and a front-runner train system running all over Utah, as well as bringing people from other cities and states to and from Utah, those same high-speed Mag-Lev trains running all over the country, crisscrossing the country, would actually be able to bring people and products. That means if the train system was running 24/7, 365 days a year, that wouldn't be a big deal then. Because if that car show was being advertised on TV today, for example, but tomorrow is when the show was going to be going on, wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to head down to there. It's a free event. I'll go hang out in a nice little town called Salina, Utah. I'll enjoy it. I'll go to the car show, maybe stop in and eat at someone's restaurant. It could be maybe your restaurant. It could be your restaurant that I might come in to. And I might be, spending a few bucks. That's money coming into your restaurant, into your community. But yet, unfortunately, there's no public transportation. So, guess what? If you can't drive, you don't have anyone that can take you from Salt Lake down there on a whim. Well, there is no way whatsoever that you'd be able to actually enjoy going out and enjoying something like that. People with disabilities end up missing out on a lot of things. But yet, putting in pipelines and putting in inland ports, are not solving problems. We just need to figure out how we can actually, put people over profits. That's not happening around here. I'm very disappointed in the state of Utah. I don't know if you can see it. The flag behind me. It's not a Utah flag. Yeah, it's not. It's a California flag. Why is it that I like the California flag and like the state of California? Well, I've been to California a good few times. And to be honest with you, transportation is better in California than Utah. If I go to a theme park in San Diego, I go to SeaWorld. Guess what? a person with disabilities gets a disability or disabled rate. I could go to the Living Planet Aquarium in Salt Lake or in Sandy. I pay full price as a disabled person. But unfortunately, in Utah, if you're 65 or older, you get a elderly discount. If you're a kid, you get a child discount. But yet, if you're disabled, you don't get a discount. But one thing you have to understand is that disability and poverty go hand in hand. Unless you're one of the very select few, and I mean very few people, that actually get any sort of, how do I put it? Basically, unless you have a very good skill, and maybe you're really good at computers, even if you are legally blind, or in a wheelchair, or have some sort of disability, if you're really good at what you can do, and you have that ability to get a job, yeah, maybe you don't need to worry about SSDI or SSI, food stamps, Section 8 housing, etc., heat programs. But the big thing around Utah is that everyone is taught that they're supposed to pull their boots up by their bootstraps. Well, you know what? There's people that would love to work. But as a matter of fact, we're talking about jobs in this video that I've been watching. Let's say they do hire people like you or I. Regular Joe Blows. Are they going to pay good money and provide good health care? You know, are they going to provide benefits? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Because if they did provide good benefits, that may be something that would be wonderful. But they don't. They're not going to provide benefits. No one has actually talked about that. But yet, Governor Herbert and the legislature in Utah have done nothing to get rid of sub-minimum wage for people with disabilities. There's places, as a matter of fact, I worked for one of them. Yes, Columbus Community Center. Yeah, it's a tax sheltered workshop. No. It's a disabled sweatshop. Who is being sheltered? Not the person with disabilities. No. Columbus Community Center is. And other places like that. Now, the thing is these places, you have to be disabled, you have to have certain criteria to be able to work there, okay, yeah. But you get paid a penny for every piece of work you put together. You put an O-ring together, you put a nut or a bolt in a bag, you get a half a penny to a penny. Maybe 2 cents if you're lucky. But yet, if you are a disabled person in Utah talking about getting jobs, you are paid a penny for every piece, but yet you lose one. When I worked for Columbus Community Center before my mom passed away in 2015, before I started working, I used to get $75 a month on food stamps. after I started working, only earning about maybe $45 a month, $40 a month, so give or take. My food stamps went from $75 a month down to $10 a month. My rent portion at the time went from where I would pay my portion of rent to my landlord. At the time I paid $169 a month. After working there, my rent went from $169 a month to $200 a month. Food stamps went down, rent went up. You know what? Was I benefiting? No. Okay. Unfortunately, if you earn or have $2,000 or more and you're on government benefits, you're screwed because you lose everything you got. Now, if you're below that, then, then from that point, you do have the ability to not lose all your benefits. But if you're only on what you're given, that's not right. That's not teaching people to save money, put money away, because you can't save money. You're not allowed to save $2,000 or more. But yet, if you do go over that, you will lose your benefits. And if you don't have the money to pay for your medical, your dental, your optical, your prescription, if all of the necessities you need are just out of reach because you earn too much money to get the benefits, but you don't earn enough money to get what you are trying to get. So if you lose your Medicare or Medicaid and you don't have the money to pay for your doctor's visits, you don't have the money to pay for your wheelchair, you don't have the money to pay for whatever you need, or you don't even have the money to pay for the insurance, who's benefiting? And a last quick final note on top of this is vocational rehabilitation for the blind is a state agency that is state and federally funded. The vocational rehabilitation for the blind voc rehab counselor, they have a cushy job. They get benefits. They get the medical, dental, optical, prescription, etc. But do the people who are working at Columbus or these other places like that around the state? No. We don't get the benefits. As a matter of fact, your tax dollars are not only just paying these voc rehab counselors for the blind or vocational rehabilitation counselors whatsoever, their salaries, their benefits. But in order for myself as a disabled person or anyone else with a disability that works at one of these places, it costs between $35 a day to $150 a day, depending on how severe your disability is. Unfortunately, the more severe your disability is, the more it costs. Now, you don't get paid out of any of this money. You're paid out of the money that the disabled sweatshop basically is providing with the contractor. So if Parker Hannafin says, here's some O-rings, can you have your guys do this? We are the ones that put those together for about a penny a piece. But Columbus, or the sweatshop, disabled sweatshop, gets paid oodles more than we would get paid. But they're tax sheltered, so they don't have to pay certain taxes because they're hiring people with disabilities. So they're making money off of our backs while we work. So if I go into work on a Monday, vocational rehabilitation for the blind has to pay the disabled sweatshop that $35 a day or $50 a day or whatever it is. Because if I'm working there, depending on my disability and the severity, your tax dollars are paying vocational rehabilitation for the blind, and they're paying this disabled sweatshop. Now, let's put it this way. If your vocational rehabilitation for the blind counselor here was to not get paid anything, and so for example, if your vocational rehab counselor for the blind got you a job where you earned a penny for every piece of work you did, then their paycheck would have to drop. But if they got you a job where you earned $150 for every piece you put together, then they would deserve to have a pay raise. So if we did that type of system, I don't think that these vocational rehabilitation counselors would be putting anyone in one of those places. If they knew that their pay was depending on how your pay is, as a disabled person, if I'm paid good money, then the voc rehab counselor for the blind gets paid good money. They get good benefits if I get good benefits. But if I don't get good benefits, I don't think they deserve to get benefits. Even if they've gone to college to do their job, what good is it if I, as a person, end up struggling? This inland port, they're not going to pay people good money. Have they promised that? I don't think so. I've never seen where they said, oh, we're going to pay good money and you're going to get good benefits. And are they going to find people, even if they can work, 3 to 4 hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week? And are they going to provide better public transportation out to this inland port so that people can go to work? It's already hard enough to get out to places like the International Center. That's already like an inland port. There's already a place west of the Salt Lake City International Airport called it's called the International Center. Companies like Fox 13, UPS, all of these places, they're all out there on the west side. As far as I'm concerned, the inland port, as a recap, is going to bring bad air quality. It's going to destroy the ecosystem, which is part of the air quality. It's going to hurt people with disabilities. It's going to hurt people who are not disabled and will actually, and yes, you know what? You might think today, I'm healthy as a horse. This inland port's a great thing. No, it's not. Because one day you're going to end up getting sick. One day you're going to join people with disabilities. You might think that right now it's okay if that's what you're thinking. It's not. people were doing everything they could to say no. People were hurt for protesting, for peacefully protesting. And I want to make sure that's very clear. For peacefully protesting, but yet no. That's what the state of Utah is. But yet, Utah says they care, but unfortunately, I don't believe it. If you like the video, feel free to comment below. Please subscribe. Please share. And, please have an open mind. And at the same time, let's beautify the world. If we brought good forms of accessibility, transportation, accessibility for people with disabilities, because if I can ride on a train on my own without needing assistance, so can you. Even if you don't have a disability, even if you're not in a wheelchair, even if you're not blind, even if you're not deaf, if I can get on that same train, you can as well. I don't need to be the only one that has to be this minority, and I shouldn't be. We keep talking about how we want to treat everyone equally, but yet we're not. So, this is the video response to the video I just saw online here. So, please subscribe. Please watch the videos. Please, share. Comment, please. If anything, I'm legally blind, so you know what? Do a video response. Nothing wrong with that. If anything, that might be easier, But if not, leave a comment, So, other than that, God bless, and, let's keep fighting for disabled rights, Accessibility is a right.